Welcome here. One of the things we want to remind you about with the recording is that if we use any of those video clips, it will be totally anonymous. So we want to respect your privacy there. So more importantly, let's get started. Thank you so much for being here. Bob already alluded to all 50 states before 50 was my goal, and all continents before 60. And one of the reasons is it brings me joy. So this idea of learning about people and places and history is so important to me. So I'm delighted to be here today and talk more about joy. And joy really starts when we're little, right? And this is a picture of a child of one of our board members. And many of us have run through sprinklers before or been shot by a parent with a water hose. So we wanted to start with a picture of joy. Let's give you a little bit of history. I'll only spend a moment on this, and some of you have been here before. And just as a matter of reminder, all of this started, the Peace, Harmony, Joy Alliance started with a discussion between a Fortune 10 executive and a rabbi talking about how to have the best life possible. And they talked between themselves, and then they got groups of people together and share ideas on again, how to live the best life, how to have a good life, and learn so much about one another that they took their insights and turned it into a book, Less Stress, More Joy, the Peace, Harmony, Joy approach. And that became the foundation of the Peace, Harmony, Joy Alliance, a brand new nonprofit that we're kicking off this year. I, on the other hand, had this philosophy, not quite in those same words. Here's one of my fun, joyful moments with a bunch of colleagues in a photo booth. And I met Scott Frank, one of the co-authors, when we were riding the Bourbon Trail in Kentucky over 5 days, and started sharing some of our philosophies and realized that there was a real link between us and our thinking. Some of it's complementary, meaning we didn't exactly agree, but complementary, and having those things that we believed in is living the best life possible. So that's how I got involved with Peace, Harmony, Joy Alliance. I'm delighted to be your facilitator today. We've shared with you our definition of peace and harmony thus far. You can see all three here. We'll focus on joy today. And we're really sharing this with you as a guideline. Our definition is a guideline. So if you have paper and pen or pencil handy to the side, I'm going to ask you to use that today. We'll share our definition, but we hope that you'll scribble down some notes on what joy really means to you. And we look at joy as the opposite of sadness and despair and suffering. It happens when we learn to evaluate people and situations from a place of gratitude and appreciation and fulfillment, feeling that reward. And joy is slightly different from happiness. Happiness often needs some kind of a catalyst to be happy, an action or behavior or an observation. Joy often comes from within and may be related to happiness, but slightly different. We among ourselves have some ideas about joy that also run parallel courses. For example, folks in our group of Peace, Harmony, and Joy, some believe that our goal is to build this joyful self all the time, 24/7. Others think that that's not totally realistic, and that our goal and our intention is to create more moments of joy in our day. And I would say that both are correct. And in theory, is there a middle approach by connecting more moments of joy that we will have that feeling more time during the day? We may even wake up joyful or go to bed joyful. So those are some twists on the definition. As we've shared with you before, the ripple effect is a phrase we use frequently. We toss that pebble into the lake and we see that ripple. As we work with ourselves, we create peace, harmony, and joy within ourselves. That eventually comes back to me, but it comes back to me after I've shared that with the people in my world, the people in my circle of trust, my family and friends. In business, it may be our team members and our coworkers. That then continues to build those concentric circles of the ripple effect where we can impact our community, the people of the world, and even nature and the planet by working on the essence of ourselves. So you'll see we'll come back to the picture of ripple, or referring to that from growing from within and extending outward. And this is how we have illustrated this in other sessions where you've seen that me, us, all. So what are our intentions of the day? What are our goals of the day? We'd like you to just kind of wrap things up and better understand how peace, harmony, and joy are connected. Another intention is that thinking about how you can cultivate more joy. I learned once that kids laugh like 300 times a day, and grown-ups laugh less than 100 times a day. And when I learned that, I was working on a commodities trade floor, and I decided that I was going to laugh more, and it actually impacted the group of people around me. So our intention is to cultivate more joy. Another intention is recognizing the power of creating joyful environments in your life. I've shared with you my own space here, but it's also little nooks and spaces within your house. It's your workspace. It may even be your car. Where do you spend time? And can you have small, joyful items and reminders that can bring you a smile bring a smile to your face so you can feel that radiating from within? And if you can bring joy within yourself, by laughing and smiling more, you will impact other people. There's absolutely no question. We love our oxytocin. We love that feeling good. And when we're joyful and happy in ourselves, we pass that on to others. Those are our 4 intentions of the day. So as you've seen before, let's use our spider web system of keeping track. So I'd like you to make a note on the chat section. Do not hit enter yet. Do not hit send. But when you think about yourself and how much joy you have in your life, how would you numerically measure that? Are you a 0 or 1 with very low level of joy? Or do you find yourself in a joyful, ecstatic feeling in your body, in your heart, in your head? That would be more of a 10. So take a moment to jot down in chat where you are in your feeling of joy. And in a minute, I'm going to ask you to hit that return key, not yet, and Bob will read out your scores to share. So where are you now when it comes to your feeling of joy?
Everyone is starting to come in. We have a 9, a 7, a 6, a 9, a 7, a 7.
Wow, I commend you. I'm saying we've got a group of rock stars with us today, and so the challenge of the day then becomes: can we incrementally move those up just a tad, and maybe to a 10, but eke that number up even more to expand our life? And the more we expand it in ourselves, the higher the likelihood that we can pass that on to others. So one of the things that we find when we talk to groups and workshops on peace, and we talk about peace, harmony, and joy, we find that joy is not necessarily standing alone, that it is often created after we find some peace within ourselves, after we work on harmony with ourselves and others, that creates an avenue and a pathway to having more joy. And it also works the other way, that when we have more joy, we can have lower levels of stress, higher levels of calm and peace, and higher levels of harmony within ourselves and with others. So there's this nice ebb and flow between the three, that each one is important as a standalone, but then as we improve, they really feed and are a conduit for improving each one. So it is important to think separately and together. So why is joy important? I'm going to put you on the spot again. And we've got a group where we can actually say some things out loud. And if you don't mind, I'd love for you to unmute and share your thoughts on why making space for joy is good. Why is it a worthwhile investment to make space in your life for joy? Would you share your thoughts?
Jen, I'll share that, whenever I do feel joy, I feel like I'm appreciating life more, and have the opportunity to slow down and realize what there is to be grateful for.
Yeah.
And just be glad, be glad that I'm here.
Yeah.
It's not every moment or every day is like that, but when I do feel like that, that's the benefit that I feel.
Yeah, what I hear you saying is that it ties into that gratefulness and gratitude and being able to slow down and pay attention to the world around you too. Is that one of the things you're saying, Bob?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Also, some comments in the chat. Life is more fun and you can spread it to others. And being joyful feels good, and it makes some of the harder things easier to deal with.
Yeah. It feels good. It's fun. Let's take those thoughts one step further. Now that you've identified a few things, you probably have a memory that made you think about fun and made you think about feeling good. And whether it's a memory or just tuning into that, think about how your body feels when you're joyful. Think about what's going on in your head when you're feeling joyful. It's not that spaghetti brain of a super highway, and our bodies feel some energy in them. That's that somatic response. Science tells us that joy can also be helpful in other ways.
Were other comments in the chat, Jane, before we move on?
Oh, yes, please do.
Joy brings a level of gratitude and happiness to my life. Joy is also a choice, part of my belief that everything is happening for me. Also, it energizes us, ties us to our purpose, and opens connections with others.
Man. Yeah.
Another comment, joy has a ripple effect. It spreads to all those around you, bringing love and light in abundance.
Yeah. And have you ever noticed that even if you're out in a crowd and you're not feeling joyful, you can recognize it with others? And what that does is it brings joy to me. I mean, it makes me feel good. Even if I'm having a lousy day, it sparks something. And the science proves exactly what you all have just said, just your comments. that it impacts positive relationships. It also impacts our mental health and our physical health. It influences longevity. The more joy and happiness and fun and positive outlook we have, we impact how long a life will live and certainly how full that life is. It boosts our immune system. And in spite of my froggy throat, I don't get sick very often. Okay, I did this week. But part of what I see in others is that joyful life. And again, what research shows is that it boosts our immune system. And there's a lot of research when we look at a physician like John Sarno and other research, that it reduces stress and pain in our lives, that sometimes through negativity and other negative ways of thinking and being, we hold in that stress and we create pain networks. Joy opens that up. So thanks, your contributions were right on the money and supports each of these items.
Jane, something else came to mind to me when you talk about making space for joy. I think
Yeah.
part of making space for joy is being open to letting it happen. And sometimes it can happen in unexpected ways and unexpected times. Recently we had flooding in our basement. And as a result of that, we had, going through a lot of boxes and everything. And, and I was just like, oh, I got to go through all those boxes and got all kinds of stuff in. And my tendency was to think of that as this is going to be a chore. I kept putting it off. But then I found myself going through it and finding things from my childhood that, I hadn't looked at in a long time, things that brought a smile to my face and helped me remember, happy times when I didn't have cares, as so anyhow, I was just open to letting it in. I was trying to, I think I was, without thinking about it, making space for joy because it came unexpectedly.
I think that is an exceptional example. And before we go to the items on the screen, let's just take a moment and if you would jot down, whether you share that or not, it's your choice, but jot down some of those experiences now or after we're finished today, some of those joyful experiences that you had when you were a kid, when we didn't have inhibitions and responsibilities. And one of the things that we've learned in talking to so many people in our peace, harmony, and joy work is that when they tap into that, they can do some of that again. And that may be going outside. That may be reading some books and just realizing that they took you away. And I'm sort of pointing, I have a little sitting area in my office workout room, sitting area room, where I can sit and read a book. And if you jot down those things that brought you a joy as a kid, I will bet you they will still bring you joy again. And it may take a little effort to knock off the rust. And as Bob alluded to, be open to it. So with that in mind, when you think about your own definition of joy, what does it feel like? What are your senses telling you? What does it feel like in your body? What does it look like? Can you tell, what does it smell like? What does it taste like? I hear lots of birds and I smell flowers outside. I feel the wind in my face. I'm a real outdoor person. I also love food. So joy for me is a taste thing. Does joy for you mean you're alone or you're with one other person or multiple other people? How does your body feel? And in times when you're not joyful, can you sit back and bring that feeling back to yourself so you can stimulate a little bit of that joyful energy within? And what does your face look like? I was practicing, pardon me, my fellow grandparent were practicing faces with our mutual granddaughter last week. And the faces were sad. I'm happy. Now it sounds silly, but we wanted her to see different kinds of expressions, and it was surely entertaining. But we also paid attention to each other, the grandfather and I, later in the week, where we would send a signal to one another when our face was not necessarily upbeat or positive. Now, I'm not unrealistic. I don't think that we have to be positive Pollyanna all the time. But if we catalog what our face looks and feels like and what our body feels like, we can find that it's easier to recreate it. So in your definition of joy, if you jot that down, what does it look like? What does it feel like? Who are you with? Can you bring some of that to your workplace also, so that you can relax some of the tension and bring some of that joy up? So I'm gonna lob this to you, friends. I would love for you to share how you've had successes. You had some great personal scores up front of 7, 8s, and 9s that you feel like you do a pretty good job with joy. And I will say, not everyone can score themselves like that, because we all have our own burdens and challenges in life. But you had some really strong ones. Would you share some personal examples on how you found joy? Bob did it from cleaning out the basement and seeing some of his past because he was forced to because of a negative experience, but it created a joyful one. So how about you? You could unmute and share it verbally or put it in the chat, whatever you prefer. In our
In the
peaceful
chat, time with family and friends.
yeah.
Uplifting shows. Just saw the Broadway musical Come From Away, and the audience, the entire audience was laughing, hugging, floating on joy. Wow,
Oh, wow.
I gotta go.
I gotta go. Yeah, next time I'm in New York or if it comes to the area. I just saw Ted Lasso last night, so that's Ted Lasso makes me smile. Yeah. For some people in our Peace, Harmony, and Joy group, sometimes they say music, and they use music either as a way to change their mood and bring joy, or to support it, that they get this energy and they want to move. I'm doing a little chair dancing, and my workout music is Hispanic Latino dance music because it has a beat and it keeps me going. And people in our groups have said that helps them find more joy. Any other examples?
In the chat, Jane, dining with friends. My pets make me laugh every day. Reading a good book, being in nature, a good movie or TV show, playing games with friends. Wow, all good stuff.
Yeah.
Sharing nature or creativity with grandkids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Meaningful connections, music, art, adventures outdoors, animal encounters.
And you know what's really neat? When we're in a group environment like this, even though we're not personally together, you can steal somebody else's idea. On some circumstances, I would write this right on the screen, but I'm not using that function today. But certainly from chat, if there are other ideas that you've seen that other people have, by all means, try it. I mean, my husband's not an animal or insect person. He likes human beings, no animals. But I'm really excited because the geckos and the lizards came back this year. Well, he thinks I'm crazy, but I'm happy about that because I've created an environment in my yard that they're comfortable to be here. They're just visitors. But that brings me joy that I've done something in my little space. So thank you for sharing the ways you find more joy.
They might think that you're the visitor, by the way, Jay.
I really am the visitor. That's a good point. Well, I'm the visitor in the world of the snake because I had a black snake. Don't tell my husband there's a snake around here. He'll die. But I like them because they eat the critters I don't like in the area, and I live right near a park. So that's a good thing. We have critters. All of that brings me joy, whether I'm a visitor in my property or not. And I want to give you a resource. Brother David Steindl-Rast, who is the founder of the Network for Grateful Living, is a great resource online. And he talks about gratitude and gratefulness. And I use the word gratefulness and gratitude interchangeably. And his attitude is that joy, it is not the joy that makes us grateful, but it's the gratefulness that makes us joyful. And yesterday we were talking about gratitude and gratefulness and forgiveness as a catalyst for harmony. And David Steindl-Rast says it's also a catalyst for joy, that when we're grateful, we create that space in our body and our brain and our heart to create that positive feeling within us. And I would say without us, in that it impacts other internally as well as externally, is what I mean. One suggestion that came from our group was having joyful intentions. And we shared with you some of our 4 intentions earlier. But the group member started positive intentions and joyful intentions as a way to from our daily to-do list, putting a little bit more joy in her life every day. So she found that it was really helpful before she got out of bed to have this joyful intent and have some specific examples of things that she could be joyful about or would be joyful about. And you can weave that in with gratitude and gratefulness. That was really a positive catalyst for her of having joyful intentions and starting the day. So I thought it would be really helpful to share that with you. And I've mentioned to you about creating joyful environments. And I'm going to get up from my chair and I'm going to show you something that brings me joy in my environment. You see the picture. The picture is from the Okavango Delta, where Namibia and Botswana meet in the northwest corner of Namibia. And that photograph may not mean anything to anyone else. It's papyrus, but it's so important to me because I really in tuned to joy in the universe in that moment. I was in a canoe and we had just seen a group of elephants cross a river to an island to get to this special grass that they wanted. And we were moving to another island to have a picnic. And we're on a river on this delta that, because of a tectonic shift, is huge, the whole northwest corner of the country. And I had to make a canvas reproduction of that photograph. And it's right next to where I work. So if for any reason I had some negativity creep in, and don't get me wrong, it happens. I have bad days. We have bad days. But having these positive reminders, like that, whether it's where you hang out on the couch or your workspace, where you look around in your environment. To my left are my orchids. I have 7 that are in bloom or getting ready to bloom. And I have my Okavanga Delta photograph. Please take a moment after we're finished today and add some joy into your workspace, into the environments where you normally hang out. And you will find that even though they're comfy now, you will find that they become even more so. And you may want to share that with your family members and coworkers. So with family members, they need a little safe, comfortable space where they can hang out. With your coworkers, maybe they're working from home, maybe they're in the office. If this is the one thing you get from today, I think that can really have a positive impact on what's around us and our environments. Well, now is the participative part in greater detail. I need everybody to get really comfortable in your chair. If you'll loosen up. If you will turn on your camera, please. We're not judging. We just want to see you, and you will find that you'll have a lot more fun. Okay, now I'm going to demonstrate what we can do when we want to add more joy immediately. It creates those great endorphins. It gets that oxytocin, that feel-good feeling that we get, and it's free. Okay. We're all going to have a big belly laugh together. I'll demonstrate, and then we're going to do it together. Count of 3, we're all going to laugh together. Let it all open. 3, 2, 1. Ah! Unbelievable. And I'm laughing at you now, not just with you. It's unbelievable. Even if you are working long distance remotely, take a moment to just crack up sometimes all by yourself, or get a coworker on the line and say, I just got to blow this off, or go in the backyard. And if you think it's nuts, just spend a little moment to get over that inhibition we feel. And once we do that, well, all of a sudden we loosen up our face and we get the juices flowing. And maybe it's just a tough day and we're tense after working our brain. You can really loosen that up. And our spirit becomes more free. And our body and mind open up. And we get out of that old part of our brain and open up our brain where we have better thinking, better impulse control, more creativity. That's where the joy is. And thank you so much for laughing with me. You probably laughed a little at yourself too and at one another. So what I suggest is you just let the sun shine down on you, and knowing what you know now, would you take a moment and write either in the chat or a note to yourself? How will you cultivate more joy in your life? Are there some ways for you to make more space in the busyness, on the to-do list, on the task list? How will you cultivate more joy?
Jan, a note in the chat. I think referencing the laugh exercise, these are called brain breaks at gals with some of the students there.
Great. Yep. I really like that, brain breaks. And our brain is an oxygen hog. When we are really focused, we feel exhausted after using our brain for so long, and we say, oh my God, why am I so tired? I haven't done anything. Well, your brain's been sucking up all that blood flow and oxygen. And sometimes we just got to open that up. Walk
Also in the
around.
chat, now that the weather is changing, spend more time outside soaking up the sun. I love the dog. I mean, we're inside so much. I like the thought of a brain break where you go outside and notice something outside that you haven't noticed before. Also in the chat, being grateful for the things you take for granted.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons that even though it's a little distracting, I always have my desk facing the window. And I know sometimes I'll look out the window, but for me, it helps me feel that gratefulness and gratitude because I have flowering plants in front of my window. And that usually means birds and butterflies. And yeah, if I could be this dog, man, I'd be happy. I'm pretty happy, but the dog is wonderful. So cultivating more joy, leading a more joy-filled life, we can not only do more good for ourselves, but we'll also have an impact on other people. And we can help heal ourselves and heal the planet by finding that joyfulness within. And I grew up on a road very much like this, near a road very much like this. And I really felt that that road surrounded by trees brought me peace and harmony and joy. And in some spiritual way, I gave it back to the universe. And that's why we shared this little pathway to lead a more joy-filled life. We really, really appreciate you being with us for 1, 2, or 3 of these sessions. And we've hoped that we've helped you focus a little bit more on finding more peace, harmony, and joy in your lives as is, and trying to find a focus in making more space. And that it creates this continuous cycle of discovery and growth. And I do need to remind you that in this discovery and growth process, as you're learning to add more peace, harmony, and joy in your life, when you feel that agitation or you feel that frustration, it's worth investing time to investigate that, because that's always the predecessor to growth. Because we have something that we're a little uncertain about that we need to work through. And it's an investment to get to that other side. So I wish that for you. Thank you. Thank you. I have gratitude that you joined us today. And I hope that we'll see you again. I wanted to connect with you that if you haven't gone to our website, we've got a video wall and articles at peaceharmonyjoy.org. You can use your phone and our QR code. We've added a number of clips from some of our other workshops and seminars. I'm doing a meditation this afternoon with a friend of mine who is a Cherokee, full-blood Cherokee, which is not common, more common in my part of the world in Oklahoma. And he's a yoga and spiritual teacher. And we'll put that on our website too. And there's a few of them out there now. So we hope that we will see you again. Let me ask you before we sign off, any other thoughts or questions or concerns or suggestions you want to share with us? You can turn off your mute and talk to us, or add it in the chat, whichever you prefer. any loose ends.
Sounds like there aren't any, Jane. Maybe we're off on our path.
Thank you. Thank you, and have a joyous day. Add more laughter, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much. Take care.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Bye.